So we're talking about the ones who have descended from, like us as descendants. What about the ones who faced major loss of people, their family? So where are we going to talk? Where does this conversation start? Where does it end?
Well, the
Are we
conversation that
going to
happened,
do the appeasement rituals for that land from which the people were torn?
there are some components of that that do happen. They tend not to be as public as they should be. See what people hear when they hear reparations, and it's funny that you went because I was closing out that part on the lack of humanity and the criminality and the homicide and all of that because this is happening and people are being disappeared and
Right.
we're starting to see that there's a frequency where there's people are leaving newborns and taking them and harming them. They're leaving, they're jumping out of buildings, they're throwing other people out of
Mhm.
buildings, they're driving. So there's a frequency and energy that is definitely not pro-life, as it is not pro-human, it is not pro respect for the ancestors. It is the opposite of Ma'at. When we say Ma'at is truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance,
That's
divine
right.
and harmony, Isfet is the
Yeah,
opposite.
yeah, you come to Isfet, you come to like
Yeah,
utter chaos.
like
That
completely.
we, I mean, how do we even manage that if we should get there? And I suspect we are there.
So I wanted to just highlight that there are things that in our human frame, there are some persons that look at reparations and they're still in the 20th century version of reparations, where they're just looking for a check or by now trillions or Googles of dollars. And not to say that there isn't going to be a remuneration or a monetary
Exactly.
compensation part, because that's part of the system that we're still dealing with. But it could have been back in the day cowrie shells, or it could have been gold bullions or something. It could be a
Right.
different currency, but there's going to be a currency exchange. But I wanted to just highlight that the part of departure for even having some of these reparatory justice and repatriation and reparation conversations, and I would highlight and I encourage persons, if you'd like to know more about the current activities that are happening in the Caribbean and Africa in particular, as well as in the Americas, the 48 contiguous US, which spreads out on the globe, because our people, and when I'm saying our people, I'm speaking of African ancestral indigenous people. So I'm going to say that for the people in the front of the room: African ancestral indigenous
Ancestral
people,
indigenous people.
because I'm not going to just say
Right.
black, because black would make it ignore the the indigenous, native Amerindian, and we can go deeper than that. Whether we